Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Dwayne, sunny in Seattle style. So this morning I have Pastor Kim and Carissa. Good morning. How are you doing this morning, everyone?
Doing well.
I'm expecting my viewership to go up because both of you are with me. So we'll have greater connection today. And as you're coming online this morning, just looking online to see who's here, make sure that you say hello and would love to see you. I see Ruth McDougall's on. Ruth, good morning to you. You are so faithful. I need to give out like what are those Dundee Awards, Krista, we do sometimes?
Funding,
Fun
yes.
Fundy Awards. So for people who are just so faithful. So thank you for being, as you're coming online, ask questions. And the title I put up for this is, are you looking to build friendships and are you looking to go deeper in your walk with Jesus? And one of the ways that we're doing that at Shoreline Community Church is through our groups ministry. And as we began to talk about it, Pastor Kim had this great idea about microgroups. So Kim, you want to share a little bit of just about, we've been talking about it and I've been referencing it in sermons, but for those who may not know, what is a microgroup?
Thank you. That's a great question. And good morning, Jamie. Microgroups are people that you walk with regularly. They are two to five people connecting regularly to follow Jesus.
Okay. Yeah, so it's pretty simple, right? It's just getting together and connecting and going over that. And Krista, because you're at a microgroup, right?
I am.
Yeah. So what does that look like? Maybe you can kind of take us from the beginning, like how you started, kind of what Kim was talking about, and what you guys do in a microgroup. Do you drink coffee?
We meet at 8 p.m. So no, we don't drink coffee. Yeah, so a few months ago, microgroups had really been on my heart, and I just really felt like God was prompting me to ask a couple of specific people to join the group. A couple of wonderful gals, a little younger than me, who I've known for a lot of their life. And so I just sent them a message on Facebook and said, hey, would you want to do like a little group with me once a week, just meet together and chat and talk and kind of catch up? And they said yes. So when we first got started, it was extremely informal. I just had like some kind of basic discipleship questions. I don't know if you remember, Pastor Bob had a little card that was like mutual mentoring questions. So just kind of checking up. For the first couple weeks, we just kind of caught up. We hadn't had many deep conversations in a while. But then after a few weeks, we kind of readjusted. We started doing reading like a few devotionals on our own time throughout the week. And now we just we discuss things that stood out to us. And of course, each week we share prayer requests and have good conversation and pray with each other. Yeah.
Really, it's just building good friendships that's centered around Christ in your conversations, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Kim, what kind of feedback have you been getting from people on microgroups? What's happening in our community right now?
So we have 5 or 6 microgroups, and they're on all sorts of topics and purposes. But the main thing is that when you're walking with people in a real small group, you keep track of one another more. And I don't know about you, but when I'm going through life, it's kind of like Peter walking on the water. All of a sudden a wave comes and I lose my focus. But having a microgroup of people who you let know where you're at in life, they readjust your sight so that you're looking at Jesus again, so that you can see Jesus in the middle of the waves. And so, and I'm seeing this with people in a lot of different areas. Some people are working on health, some people are working on Bible study, some people are working on prayer, but they're all connecting in just 2 to 5 people, and keeping themselves focused on what they want to be focused on, Jesus.
Yeah, it's amazing how we see through scripture this common thread. It's not good to be alone, and oftentimes we only apply that to marriage. But just really, just as a human being, it's important to have that iron sharpening iron, people pouring into you, people investing in you, people who know what's going on. And I mean, how often do we hear that? Often when we're going through hard times, just being able to verbalize it and speak it to somebody. And sometimes it's hard to do that. You know, like we have large groups of Shoreline Community Church, and I love those. They're great. But sometimes I think especially for new people, it's trying to get into a place where you walk in a group and you see a lot of people, and sometimes you're like, I don't feel comfortable bearing my soul, but
Right.
you walk in and Krista's there, one other person, and you're like, yeah, I think there's opportunity for greater vulnerability and greater opportunity to share.
Well, I think that the thing I like most about microgroups is you build your own. So you're not going into a room where you're going to have to get to know a bunch of people, which are good. It's good to have those opportunities and to create bigger community. But with microgroups, you create your own with the people that you feel some affinity with, and you can let into that personal space. It's like Jesus had the 3 and the 12. Well, the 3 is the microgroup and the 12 is the small group.
That's correct.
And yeah, that just came off the top of my head. Thank you,
Wow.
Jesus.
I'm tired.
You must read the Bible a lot.
We had a very long conversation yesterday about the differences, and that never came out. Jesus is so grateful.
Well, the Holy Spirit brings to your mind.
There we go.
Don't it come?
And one of the things is, not only do you you create your own microgroup with the people that you already know, but then those conversations go deeper, faster on a more personal level. It doesn't have to go deep, heady. As deep am I living like I know Jesus is alive,
Mm-hmm. Well,
we all, me most of all, forget that sometimes.
Well, I mean, I think that's where Jesus keeps bringing us. He keeps bringing us back to basics. And I love, yes, we study to show ourselves approved. We apply ourselves. Krista is at the University of Washington now. She's a Husky and studying and applying herself to the call that God has in her life. And so we encourage all that. Right. But Jesus keeps bringing us back to that heart-to-heart level that boy, I was, I don't know if it was this past Sunday or I think it was Easter Sunday when I asked people, how many of you that you're just praying right now that God would just bring you just one good friend, one good person you kind of lean with. And almost every hand in the building went up, just people going, boy, I just really want that 1-2 good friends that I can just share life with. And boy, microgroups, it's a great opportunity where you can just invite somebody and say, boy, would you want to get together with me for coffee or tea or scones or whatever your jam is, sushi? I would caution you though, this is off topic, and maybe it's not the Holy Spirit, but I got a hold of a bad imitation crab yesterday.
That's bad.
And man, it was bad. And if Micah's watching now, he's laughing because he was with me at the time. And he was like, don't do it, Dad, don't do it. I'm like, it's good. It was not good. So we're not going after imitation crab microgroups, but apart from that, you can kind of pull it out. But
well, I remember years ago, I had a friend that I let inside my space and would share my life with. Mm-hmm. And one of the most healing things anybody ever said to me was, yeah, that happens. And we all think we're the only for so many things. And when we're in that tight group, when we let people in, we learn that we're not the only, and we are able to share our lessons that we're learning along the journey with others. And we all learn more when we're teaching anyway. So, there's a real deep learning that happens just by having people in your life that you're regularly connecting with and people that will point you to Jesus.
Well, yeah. I mean, how important it is to have someone who's just listening. So,
right. Can I back up just a second? Because there's kind of 2 kinds of microgroups. I talked about the ones where you're having people point you to Jesus, but then there's the kind with you have somebody in it that doesn't know Jesus yet. Mm-hmm. And so introducing spiritual conversation, meeting, and I think every group should have a longevity. In other words, you say in 12 weeks, we're going to decide or in 6 weeks or in 9 months, we're going to meet and then we're going to say yes or no for the next season. But to meet together, just to have spiritual conversations, it's a different kind of microgroup, but it's just as powerful because it helps you analyze and understand your faith more, but it also helps you meet people where they're at and hear their story. One of the most powerful things we can do is hear people's stories.
Yeah. And I love that variety where it brings it's almost like it's very entrepreneurial. You know, you can just go out and, like you said, there's so many things you can talk about, but as you're there, and Jesus naturally comes up in conversation. Krista, want to ask you a question that I didn't prepare you for, but I just started thinking, I was like, as because you've walked with and mentored so many people, and you do so well at it. And what are some things, like when you're walking with somebody who's hurting or needs to share, maybe what are some things that you found that helps people feel comfortable sharing? Like, so you're in this micro group. How can you help somebody feel comfortable in that group, and what's helpful in those situations?
Yeah. I feel like the biggest thing I've noticed, like back when I was a youth leader, is probably when I first started noticing this, is when you are the first one to be vulnerable and to open up around them, it's much more likely that they'll see that as something that's safe to do. So yeah, kind of leading with vulnerability. Obviously, you can be wise and maybe not the first day you meet them, tell them your darkest secrets. Right. But just having that relational foundation and having those moments of vulnerability and sharing where you're at, where you've been, and kind of, yeah, if you have those areas that just maybe aren't at the surface, just getting deeper with each other.
I think rules for connection is important. Which is the main one is rules for connection. What does it mean for us to meet together? What rules do we need to make this a safe space? Bottom line one usually is what's said here stays here. But maybe in some groups you need to say, if I can't make a meeting, I will call. But there's rules of connection that every group that's going to meet for any length of time needs to say, okay, these are our rules.
Yeah. So
what I'm hearing, use a different word than rules, because that doesn't always go well.
Here's my rules. But yeah, it really is. It's almost like kind of like this understanding, like moving forward, or whatever you want to call it. Some people call it like covenant. Some people call it just an understanding, just to help us go forward. But what I'm hearing,
right? Memorandum. We'll have a memorandum of understanding.
Right. That's right. We can complicate this thing really easy. But a lot of it is really just learning how to be a good friend, and people are hungry for it. People raising their hands, there were people who were new to Shoreline Community Church. There were people who'd been here for decades, because we want that. We want somebody that we can just do life on life with, walking through. So what I'm hearing is, for microgroup, it's just 2 or 3 people getting together. Kim, I heard you say about just being willing to try it. So like, don't feel like you're buying this car. You're
my friend forever.
Right. Yeah. There've been some movies made about stuff like that. So just maybe putting, like I heard you say, like 6 weeks, put like a 6-week time frame on it, and just a way, hey, let's try this for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then just some relationship understandings about, let's commit to meet, for meeting weekly, whatever that looks like. If we're not, that we're going to be a safe place, what we say here stays here. And if we can't be there, that we're having good communication with each other. Any other good things that kind of give a good foundation for a microgroup for those watching today and going, how can I set this up? Yeah, Krista?
Another thing I would say, I kind of touched on it a little when I was explaining my group, is just, is that willingness to be flexible in what you're studying or how you're studying. Because the first few weeks we just were kind of catching up and going over some basic questions, but we kind of decided as a group that we wanted to go a bit deeper. So just that willingness to kind of pivot. And that's one of the beauties of a micro group, is there is that flexibility. In a larger group, you wouldn't want to be like, we're not liking this study, so we're going to stop doing it. With the micro group, you do have a bit more freedom.
Yeah. Well, and I was finding that on Immerse, I kept falling behind. It was so embarrassing. But I was 2 days late to even start, and then I got caught up, and then I forgot again on Monday. And so I said, I need somebody to do this with. And so I called somebody and said, hey, would you meet with me to do Immerse? Well, we were already on Wednesday of the first week. And they said yes, but that first Friday, and we decided 6:30 on Friday mornings. And so, that's flexibility you don't get in any place else, right? And then, but that first week, we were like, this other person's only had 2 days. Why don't we just do 2 weeks and just talk on Friday morning and pray together, and then the following week we'll do 2 weeks at a time. Well, that's another type of flexibility that you just don't get anyplace else.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and there's flexibility too, like you said, if someone shows up, like if there's someone in that group that, man, they just got hit hard that week, there's great flexibility for just coming together and get a place to go. And I think so many times, I mean, I think it's good to plan, to have systems, do all that stuff, but I think a lot of times the win is just getting together. The win is just getting together and knowing that whatever's going on in your life, I've got these 2 people that I can just run to, and they're going to pray for me. They're going to listen to me. I don't go to my friends because they can fix it. I go to my friends because they'll be with me. And I think that's one of the things, like talking about our immersive readings going through this week, we're talking about Joseph. And one of the things that stood out to me in Joseph is that in every situation, when he was in prison, when he was accused by Potiphar's wife, in every situation, the line that was in there was, the Lord was with him. The Lord was with him. The Lord was with him. And we see this throughout scriptures, which is, it's so good just to read it and get these big overviews like you're talking about, Kim. But, the Lord is with us, but he sends us each other, because when we're walking through it, we just need to be with people that we know they care, they're with us. And so if you're going, boy, I don't know if I can do all the planning for microgroup, just get together, open the Bible, open a book. We need each other.
The picture that always comes to me is Moses with Aaron and Hur, and he was, when there was a battle in the valley below, and when his arms were up praising God, then the battle was being won. And when he was, micromanaging with his, looking down or lowering his arms, and the battle was being lost. Well, Aaron and Hur came along, his arms got tired, and Aaron and Hur came along and lifted his arms. And that's really, to me, what microgroups are about. It's having people who will lift your arms for you.
Yeah. I need that. Do you guys need that? I need to lift. And I love what you're pointing at too, where Jesus had the 3 and had the 12, and I mean, that's so important, where you've got that close little network, but then you also you're broadening out, and you're encouraging others to fly out. So we've got down, Stephanie's so good. Stephanie's online, and if you're looking for ways to start or looking for resources, Stephanie has that link in there, shorelinecc.com/microgroups. So you can just click that. That has a lot of great resources. And Kim, what will they find when they click that? What types of resources are there?
So on the microgroups page, the discipleship team put together 4 videos on how to do microgroups. And so, and it was Katie and Andrew, and I think Ian is in there, and Krista, and they just did these great videos on what is a microgroup, how do you start a microgroup. I don't remember the other 2, and one of them was tips and tricks. So, but basically we went as a big team, we brainstormed everything people would need to know. And then we just created these 3 to 7 minute videos. Wow.
That's so good. So good. Yeah. So, and you mentioned it, and people may not know that we have a discipleship team. So maybe talk about that a little bit, because for us, that was the thing that Jesus said. Jesus said, go and make disciples. So one of the things that we did, and that Pastor Kim spearheaded, was the discipleship team. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what the discipleship team does?
The discipleship team, we meet monthly, and we are, during COVID, didn't we meet weekly for a while? I think we did. When we first made that transition, we were meeting a lot more regularly, but we meet monthly to kind of help the church move more towards that personal discipleship. I think that's our bottom line goal. I didn't know I was going to get this question, or I would have had our statement. We have some purposes, but basically our goal is to help Shoreline be a place where someone could come in, get to know Jesus, and start walking with Jesus in a way that makes sense and is easy and is part of life. Because I personally feel that discipleship happens along the way, it doesn't just happen because we join a church. It isn't something that happens outside of our day-to-day life. It's something that happens in our day-to-day life while we're in the workplace, while we're getting groceries. That's when discipleship really happens. And so I want to create a space that this where we are learning in order to walk with Jesus in the workplace and in the marketplace and in our homes.
Yeah,
and
well,
with our neighbors.
it's as we go. I remember when they were in, I did a Q&A for when they were in a process of going, do we want Dwayne to be our lead pastor or not? And so many of the questions, my answer was discipleship with vision. And I think Chris was watching this morning, or he was on. Good morning, Chris. Good to see you. And I remember Chris is a great friend, so he got up and he said, I'm going to ask you a question, but you can't say discipleship. I said, I can't make that commitment because it's so core to what Jesus told us to do. And it's such the center. I remember I was listening to Professor McNaughton. He's teaches down at Southeastern. And he said some things that have really helped kind of shape my view and how I approach it. And he said some of the things you're saying, Kim, where discipleship is as you go in everyday life. But it's also what you do, but also what you receive, meaning that you are discipling somebody, but in that process, you yourself are also being discipled. So it's this two-way street that's going on, that's pouring into you. And then he also gave me the two questions that I use. I tell everybody that, discipleship, if you don't know what to do in your groups, just focus on these two questions. What is God speaking to you? And what are you going to do about it? Right. And that first question has been very instrumental to me in the conversations I've had, because there are so many times that people say, I don't know what God's saying to me. And so, boy, focusing on that, how to hear God, how to receive from God, how to quiet your soul, how to be filled with the Spirit, how to pour the word into your life just to help you to hear God. That is transformative. And then having that confidence to go, okay, how am I going to do? Because, God leads us from A to B to C. So each of those steps following him, that's just been so instrumental in me as a disciple, but also as a discipler has helped me so much. So
you helped me there.
Exciting.
Well, our goal is to help Shoreline be a place of disciples who make disciples.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so one of the things we're going to do this fall is we have a leadership training course that some of our team has put together and they'll teach. And so because we're all leaders in some way. In fact, for a long time now, I've kind of thought the definition of a Christian, the job description of a Christian, is to be a leader. Whether it's shaping the culture in your workplace, shaping the culture in your home, you're being a leader. And so they're putting together a leadership course for this fall.
Wow.
To help with that.
That is so awesome. Well, everyone, this morning, thank you for joining us. We could talk forever, and this is great stuff. And I encourage you to come back. Lots of just gold here from Pastor Kim and from Krista. So Kim and Krista, thank you for joining me this morning. Wonderful. We're all about discipleship. And as you're watching today, let me encourage you, if you're in a group, tell your story. Share your story, whether it's on Facebook or social media or wherever you are. Tell the story about what's happening, what God's doing in your group. And encouraging others. If you're not in a group, boy, look for one or just two people just to engage, and just go up and say, hey, would you want to get together? And just say, you know what, just for the next 4 to 6 weeks, let's just try it out. Let's just try it out and see if this works and see what God will do in it. So thank the both of you for what you're doing. Discipleship, it's all of us. It's all of us doing it, each of us. So let me just empower you and equip you as you're walking today. Hear God's voice and then obey and walk forward and know that we're praying for you and cheering for you. So love you all so very much. Thank you for joining us today. And I hope that your coffee cup is filled with delicious coffee the rest of the day. Love you all so very much. God bless. Thanks, Kim and Krista.
Thank you.
Bye.